Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. In this video, we are going to create the TrickyStick game in Unity. So this is another one simple hyper casual game. The player logic is a little bit different and we are going to create this whole project from scratch. And by scratch, I mean the things we can reuse, we'll reuse. And there were some issues with the scenes and the prefabs, so I redone my project again. The tags are not added. So that's why we are going to create it from scratch and we'll add the tags at start and after that we'll create the prefabs. It doesn't take much time, but instead of cloning the project again, we are going to start from an empty project. But if you want to build on top of that, uh, I mean, this one we'll have to create a new project. I don't know why those tags are not getting added, and there should be a solution, but as the project settings were not imported, if you have more complicated project, then instead of tags there may be some project settings that will also not get included. So we are going to create this project from scratch, so whenever we want to create similar type of games we can like copy this project and edit on top of it, because as you already know, the previous projects had some issues with the tag. The game was running fine, but I don't know. So we have empty scene opened up, and first we are going to change our build settings to Android, remove our sample scene. Where is everything getting? Okay, asset store, we don't need it. And there are some issues here. Okay, so there should not be a hierarchy. Window layout default. Okay, so now it is fine. So let's just drag it here, drag this here, close our asset store, select our scene. So we don't need to click any of our packages. And first we are going to go on our build settings, remove what, yeah, now it is working fine. So this video will be longer maybe. Let's first change our platform to Android, and after that we are going to bring in our assets, and by our assets I mean all the files from our tricky spin. And let's first bring in our editor as it's the easiest. So let's go inside here, go inside here, and where did it? Yeah, it always takes time, but first switching it for Android, it's recompiling scripts. So let's see how much time will it take. Yeah, and this editor, I don't think we are going to need to change it. So okay, it added it inside our assets folder. We are not going to touch the packages again. And after that we are going to go inside our player settings and our preferences. If there are any things that we need to change our preferences, then we change there. And also our package manager. So these are all the tabs I opened up. So let's first go inside our project settings and import the text mesh pro. And after the importing the text mesh pro, we are going to disable the warnings, and inside our editor for the naming, let's change it to underscore. It is already serialized to force text, and game, I mean, let's just use our game 18:9. And preferences, I don't think there is any changes with our preferences, but if we have, we are going to use it. So no changes inside our project settings, but inside our player Set the default orientation to portrait and do not render outside safe area. So don't know, maybe it may cause some issues, but let's now change our packages. We don't need the JetBrains rider. It will be a long one. Ah. No VS Code rider. The only packages we are going to need is our Text Mesh Pro, Timeline, Unity UI, and our Visual Studio Editor. Version control, if we are using any other like Plastic SCM, or it has like, I don't know which, for different platforms. It is using that tool chain, cross compilation tool chain to build on host. As we are building for Android, we also don't need that. And this is a simple project. We don't need the test framework, but if you want to go by the, I don't know what it's called, software development guidelines, test first and code second. So you may use the test framework. Timeline is going to be needed. Particle effects, as we are just using the default particle effects, but yeah, it is for Unity Plastic SCM or Unity Beta. Let's remove that. And after that, we should have all of our packages. And we can also import the scenes, but after that, I think we'll need to import our prefab, so we are not going to do that. We'll try to create everything from scratch. So this is our current scene. We'll delete our sample scene, and the first scene we are going to create is not a new project. Let's create a new scene, basic 2D build-in, don't save, and we are going to save this scene as our main menu. And after that, we'll create one more scene and we will save this scene as our gameplay. So these are the two scenes. They are empty right now. We are not going to change anything for the main camera. And for now, we are just going to have it as it is. Now, we already have our colors. It includes all the black. I think we brought in the wrong ones. Yeah, it has the black, but it does not have. Yeah, we'll need to bring in our original colors. So let's do that. And let's first delete both of them. And after that, we'll bring in our colors. And when we tried, yeah, we can get it. So this one is going to be colored black. And for now, let's have it as it is. And what we are going to need next, our resources, which includes all of our fonts and sprites and the sounds, and there are not many resources, so we have just included in one folder. And we can also bring in our scripts because they are like directly generated from text. There is not any settings inside, so we can also bring in scripts. So we are going to bring in our scripts and our resources folder from our previous project, which is the TrickySpin, and it should bring in all of our assets we are going to need for building our game. So script is just as we already created the framework for how the game flow is going to be. We have the scripts for the audio, game, and the main menu manager, the score and the obstacle, and the player, and storing all of our strings for the constants. So this is not the best way. I mean, I don't know whichever is the best way, but it works for us. And after that, we have our main camera selected correctly. So what we are going to do is first create our title text, which is going to be positioned at the center. Whose text is going to be our new text, and it is going to fall TrickyStick, and our reference resolution for our canvas, we'll need to set it up. Instead of screen space overlay, we'll set it to screen space camera. At the main camera, plane distance is going to be 12, scale with screen size, and 1080 by 1920. And we are going to match the height. Yeah. And after that, currently our title is different color. Let's make it blue colored, and let's set up our settings, and let me open up my audio manager so the Visual Studio editor is loaded correctly. And yeah, it works fine. So let's change the parameters for our it's going to be at 512, size is going to be 1024 by 256. I mean, we can also set it to 512. It is positioned at center. Size is going to be 160. Color we already have blue. So this is our title text. Nothing new here. And after that, we are going to have 3 images. So let's create an image, and first image is going to be for the play, and it is going to be positioned at 00. Size is going to be that 128, and let's use the 9 sliced image. We can use better, but currently this works, so there's no need to do anything. And let's duplicate this play, and the next one is going to be for our sound, which is going to be positioned at -192, and our final image, which is going to be for the quit, and it is going to be positioned at -384. And all three of our images are going to have button components attached to it, and color tint will be set to none. And after that, we'll create a main menu manager, and finally our audio manager. Both of them, let's reset their transform. It doesn't matter, but it's very good. And main menu manager is going to have a main menu manager script. This is not our sound image. And our audio manager is going to have an audio manager script, and also an audio source component whose volume is going to be 0.7. There's just only one audio source in the whole game, because that's the only audio source you need if you want to click sound. I mean, there is only one audio playing at a time, so if you want music, add one more audio source and name it to music source. And if you want multiple, you can use object pooling, and there are different options, but for this simple game, this one audio source is more than enough. And after that, let's add text to our play, and it is going to be called play. Size is going to be 80. The font is going to be what we have used. 80, I don't think it didn't suffice. And let's change it to 128. 96 would be better. So this is our font. Similarly, let's add our font to our quit. 96, scale it across, and center, and color it's going to be black. So as you know, my art skills are not so good, so we are just going to use two colors, and whichever feels good we'll use that one. And after that, we are going to add an image to the sound, which is going to be 128 by 128, and whose image is going to be our audio on image. And for the color, we are going to use the color of the background. Now inside our main menu, we'll add the image component, and our on and the off, active and the inactive audio. and our audio manager is also set up. So if we play the game now, we should be able to like turn on and off the audio, quit the game after we add a button components to all three of our game objects as we already added, and we'll need to reference what function they are going to call. So the first one is going to call the click to play, the sound is going to call the toggle sound, and our quit is going to call the click to quit. So this is our main menu, easy and simple. We could have copied it, but it's good to do some practice after creating a couple of games. So it didn't take much time, 10 to 15 minutes and almost 10 minutes. Nothing complicated here. The scripts we already reused. Coding, it's not necessary to repeat it yourself. So we already reused our scripts. Now let's see for our constants, our naming should be correct and both of the scenes should be added to our build. So we don't have our main menu. Let's add it to the build and also our gameplay. Now if we hit our play button and go inside our gameplay scene, play one shot what called with an audio, null audio clip. Okay, so it won't have any audio clips. We forgot to add the audio clip inside our audio manager, so that's why it's not calling. So let's add our click clip. Is it recording? Yeah, it's always a nightmare to know that I've you have been like creating the whole game for 10 to 15 minutes and it doesn't record correctly. But as I've been doing it for a year now, it doesn't happen again. I think I like forgot to switch to the Unity window while recording, and the code was still there. The Visual Studio Editor was open, and vice versa. Both of them happen sometimes, but nobody watches the whole video, so it doesn't matter. Well, at that time, but now we are already creating everything from scratch, and everything should be correct. We should be able to hear sounds, quit the game as it was already working, and go to a new scene with our play button. And if you want animations, you can add that. And our audio manager should be transferred to our gameplay scene, so that script is also working fine. Now let's go inside our gameplay scene. So main camera, our current color is going to be starting from blue. Yeah, blue, green, and yellow. So let's see what we need to do now. We'll create the UI first. It has two animations, I think, one for the high score and one's for our score whenever where the score is called. And the rest is just like some background objects. The main is our player obstacle and the score, and a couple of parameters for our game manager. So what is going to be our main camera? 23.4. I don't know why it used that, but I think it scales to like 10, 10 and somewhat. And after that, let's create a UI and text and we'll call it score. And its size is going to be 360 by 360. Position is going to be from the top right, -160 by -160. And why did it went there? Okay, so screen space overlay, screen space camera, main camera, constant camera, scale with screen size, and here we are going to use the iPhone resolution 1170 by 2535, and I still don't know why our score is not there. Okay, so it is there, but we don't have any text. That's why it's not showing up, and we need to attach it to the center. So let's first change our text type, and for the text we are going to use 2-digit random number for now. Size, let's change it to 160. maybe 190. Its color is going to be pure white, no changes here. And centered, yeah. And this is going to be our score. And why did that sound? Well, I don't know. It doesn't matter if the Unity doesn't crash. So we have our score and we need to attach a single animation to our score, which is going to go inside our prefabs folder. We'll need to create that. Resources, editor, scene scripts, prefabs, and let's create our animator first. Animator controller. And we'll start with AC, and this is for our score. And if you click it, it will open an animator window, and we are also going to need an animation window. And let's click our score and let's attach an animator component to it. The animator controller is going to be our score, and we should be able to create new animation. We are going to begin its indexing with an under slash score under slash idle. You can call whatever you want, but there is only one, so we are going to call it idle. So this is our animation name which we created, and our animation, we have it here. And how we are going to animate it, so it's going to be a 30 frame 1 second animation, or maybe 15-second animation, 15 frame animation. And we are going to attach the scale component. As you can see, it automatically scaled it there, and if it plays there won't be any changes, but we are going to change a couple of properties. So the first thing is our starting, which is going to be 0.8, and our middle, which is going to be not middle, 10. Let's set it at 1.6, 1.6, and 1.6. So if we go inside the game, how it's going to look? Doesn't look better. So this scale we have 1, but this is too much high. So instead of 1.6, let's just set it at 1.2. And it's still too far, so we need almost like no gaps. So now let's hit play. And if we go inside our animation curves, X, Y, and Z, I don't think we'll be able to see it whole, but let's just use the dope sheet. So it's going to start from 0.8, and finally it is going to convert it to 1, and in between we have 1.2. So now it looks better, not so good, but it works fine. If you want to have more control over the animations, you can use easing functions or directly animate it from code, which Dotwin does it pretty good. And after that, we have our score animation. We are going to create our end panel, and this canvas is going to be on the top. So its order in layer, it's going to be the highest, which is the 10. And let's create our end panel, which is going to be image stretching across the whole screen. Let's set the image to bar block, doesn't matter. And its color, it's going to be our blue color, but if we end with any other color, it's going to be that color. And let's rename it to end panel. And inside our end panel, the first thing, we are going to have a text, which is going to be our end score. So end scores position at 512, size, it's going to be 512 by 512. And let's go inside our text mesh pro, and here Our text size is going to be 256, centered and centered, and we only have two numbers, which are the current font. And it is centered. Let's make it bold. I think it didn't matter much, but let's not have it bold. The font already looks good enough. So this is our end score. It's just a simple text, and similarly we are going to create one more text, which is going to be from the bottom -64, whose size is going to be 1080 by 256. And let's position it to the center. And here we are going to have the best, and let's rename it to 98, and its size is going to be, let's add 96 font. So this is just going to call our best high score, and this too is going to have an animation. So let's create an animator. We will also need an animator controller, which is going to be AC_best, and we will let's rename this first best score. We'll attach this animator AC_best. Let's open it up, and if we go inside our animation window, we should be able to create, to begin animating best score, create an animation clip, and we are going to call AC_best_idle. And this is not going to do anything, but it's just an idle script which is just idle. And after that we are going to create one more clip, which is going to be an_, we renamed it differently. So let's remove this animation, and if we delete AC_best, select our best score and create an animation again. So why did we delete it? Because if you want to find any of the animations and animator controllers, we can directly search by typing AN or AC, and it will show all of our animations inside our specific folder, or the whole project, as there are not many. So that's why naming convention is good, and we'll also try to follow some of the best practices from the start. So when we create more difficult projects or more complicated ones, the already what we have done, uh, we should be able to don't change it. So this is our active, and let's go inside our scene, and our active is going to, let's first set its property to 30, and we are going to have two properties, but first we'll set to record, and for the 15th, for the best and the record, what we will do is set the rect transform to 0.5. So once at 0.5, and it is already recording, so what we'll do is we'll also change our color to black. So this is going to be our animation. Let's stop recording, and we will copy our whole points and push them in there, and if we hit play, this is going to be our best animation. Nothing different, and 0.75 was a bit on the higher end, so let's convert it to 0.5. So this is going to be our best Okay, it didn't matter. What we need to do is control it here, 0.75, 0.75, and 0.75. So this is going to be our two animations. You can have whatever animations you like. And for our score animation, inside our animator, set the loop time to off, and by default it is turned to on, so our best score is going to have both of our animations looping. So this were the two animations, nothing difficult here. uh, Already took 30 minutes, so it doesn't matter if it takes much time, if we can recollect and create everything we did before, or else there is no point in creating so much projects and still not being able to learn good enough. And after that, the rest we are going to have a couple of images. The first image is the restart image, and the next six buttons are going to have similar properties, so we'll just create one and we'll reuse the rest later. So this one is going to position at -384, and it is also going to have a button component attached to it, and the image is going to be our restart image, and every property is going to remain the same. So let's go inside our game view. So after restart, we are going to have our share, which is going to be at -384, and its image is going to be our share too. And after our share, we are going to have our sound, whose image is going to be our audio on, and it's going to be at +384. Let's duplicate the three of them, and we will position it at the bottom. So first we have go to menu, which is at the center, whose image is our menu grid, and we'll need to press enter to change the name. And after that, we are going to have two more buttons. The first one is the rate button, which is just going to be our star, and the next one's going to be our buy button. So if we have any of the packs we want to buy, and it may be like you can have any other different buttons, but it just fills up the whole screen. So maybe you have some skins you want to try, so this is going to be for that button, and all of those have the buttons, and that is going to be your end panel. And after we have our end panel created, let's hide it, and we are going to create the background, which is going to be our center. Let's reset its transform to 0, and it's just going to have two circles, so sprite and circle. And instead of this circle, we are going to use our original circle, which is going to be sliced. Size is going to be 0.8, and transparency is going to be 75, and our main camera, okay, center and circle, yeah, scale, don't forget to set it to 1. So that was our first circle positioned at -8, and let's rename it to circle and slash 1. And after, we are going to have the second circle, which is going to be at position 8. So this is going to be our center. This is just like some images which we want to have in our background, nothing more. And after that, we are going to create our player. For now, let's set up our player as empty, but again, it is going to have paste as child two circles, but here, instead of -8, it is going to be at 2.56 and -2.56, and both of its color, it's going to be pure white. And this two circles, its order in layer is going to be -5, and this two circles, this one's order in layer going to highest at 5 because they are circles for our player. And similarly, we'll create a sprite renderer which is going to be for our 0.8 by 5.12. So as you can see, it created our stick for it, and both of our circles are 0.8 by 0.8 size, and that's going to be our player. And after we have our player, we'll need to create our game manager, and it's just going to have the game manager script attached, and we'll need to set up all of our references. So the first is our score text, then we have our end score text, our high score text, and next we'll have our score animator, our score clip, which is going to be an under slash score under slash idle, our end panel, and we should have our sound image, the active and the inactive sound, which are inside our resources. So let's bring in that. And next we are going to have our high score animator and our best active clip, and our camera starting in the ending position, it is going to be at 40 -10 and 0 -10. So don't forget to add -10 or it will like go out of the screen. So yeah, and time to move camera, let's just set it at 0.32. Obstacle spawn pose, this we are going to change, but inside our colors we are going to add three of our colors. The first one is the blue, the second one is our greenish one, and okay, so this one is the blue, this one is our green, and finally that's the yellow one. And we'll need to create our obstacle and the score, but let's first finish setting up our player. So it has a sprite renderer, it needs to add a box collider 2D whose width and height is going to be similar, 0.8 and 5.12. It's also need rigid body 2D whose gravity scale is set to 0. We don't need it to affect it by gravity. After that, we'll attach a particle system which we'll need to set up, and finally it's going to have a player script. So some of the things we can set up earlier. So obstacle spawn time is going to be 1, maybe even less. Yeah, let's just set it at 0.8, and we'll need the obstacle and the score prefab, which we'll create after we finish setting up our player. And everything is else is almost set up. We also need the player to be set up. And for now, we are not going to change anything. We'll just use whatever things we have at our 1500. So X is 15 and Y is, and let's set it at -5 and 5. So it will start spawning our obstacles. So we are creating with reference to a tricky spin where the obstacles were spawning from the right. So if it spawns at the center, the game will directly end. And for now, we'll try to recreate everything that we did in the previous project. And after that, I mean, all the scenes and the prefabs, not the whole setup. And after that, we'll modify on top of it. So this is our player, and our player has our particle system set up. So let's start editing our particle system. So properties, and if we bring it here, it will I mean, it's not necessary, but if you can't see it properly, because Unity's fonts are too small. So let's set it up for and looping. And our start lifetime is going to be 0.8. Start speed is going to be 0. Start size is going to be random from 2 numbers, and it's going to be 0.8 and 1.6. And rotation is going to be similar. The simulation space is going to be world. Now let's go inside our renderer and let's set billboard, but our material is going to be our sprites default, and our ordering layer is going to be at 3 4 mm, yeah, let's just set it to 4. So it is behind our player, but would be in front of all of our obstacles. And sprite render, this ordering layer will need to set it to 5. And emission rate over time, it's going to be set to 8. Our shape is going to be circle, which will be the most minimum radius size over lifetime. It is going to scale linearly, but the top position is going to be set at 0.6, so it does not disappear, but just scales down. And our texture sheet animation, which is going to change from grid to sprite, and the sprite we are going to use our circle sprite, and after that it should be perfectly set up. So those were the parameters for our particle system. And what we can do is let's bring in our sprite. So move is the move, point is the point, score is the update, and our lose is the lose. And we'll need to create one more particle explosion prefab. So you are not able to see it, but okay, so this one shape, not the shape, the size is going to be a constant, which is 0.64. So a particle system is set up, transform, sprite render, box collider 2D, everything is set up. No need for any changes here. The circle is also set up, and we'll need to attach button functions to here, but we'll have it after a little bit of time. So what needs to be set up inside our player? The center and the move time, let's set the move time to 1 and rotate radius to 5. I don't know how it will behave, but we'll need something to see if our scripts were connected correctly and everything's working fine. So we are going to need 3 prefabs. The first one's the player, the second one's the obstacle, and uh, obstacle score and the explosion. And for that to work, we are going to need both of the tags. So obstacle is going to have an obstacle tag, and score is going to have a score tag. So let's create our explosion first. So it's just going to be an empty object where the explosion, and let's save it as a prefabs. Uh, and we'll save it as a prefab, delete the explosion from the scene, and for the player we'll attach our explosion. So our player parameters are set up correctly, and our game manager parameters, we only need to attach our obstacle and the score. So we'll first need to create that and set up our obstacle and the store first. So let's first create an obstacle. And our obstacle is going to have a sprite renderer, which is going to be a bar, yeah, circle. Color, it's going to be black. Order in layer is going to be at 4, and instead of simple we'll make it sliced. Its size is going to be 2.56 by 2.56, and relative scale we will set it as 1. And after that it's going to have a circle collider 2D, which is going to set to trigger the tag of obstacle and our obstacle script attached to it. And move speed offset, so the move speed, let's set it to 15. The max offset, let's set it to negative 10. The destroy time 0.32, and rotate speed, let's set it to 90. So this is our obstacle, and we'll save this as a prefab, and let's delete our obstacle from the scene. And we are going to create one more prefab, which is going to be score, tag of score. Similarly, we'll attach a sprite renderer. Order in layer is going to be 4. Color, it's going to be similar to white, but its size is going to be 1.6 by 1.6, and it will have a box collider 2D attached, which is going to be a trigger, and size of 1.6 by 1.6. And finally our score clip, move speed 15, negative 10, destroy time, let's set it to what should our 0.32, and rotate speed of 90. And we'll first delete our sprite render, cause our background is going to have same color, so we won't be able to detect it. So let's change our score first to match currently what we have. So yeah, let me change to Visual Studio. So we have our score script, and we are going to delete our sprite render as going to be similar color. Similarly, we won't need the color changed event, and we won't need the color change function too. And let's see what else are we going to need. So private bool has game finished. We'll need to set the position, but we'll do it afterwards. Transform dot position, transform dot rotate, and everything else is going to be similar. So score is also set up, and let's go inside Unity. Score, the SR does not exist in the context. Okay, SR. So I forgot to remove one line, and after that it should be perfectly fine. And as it was set up in the main scene, let's add as a prefab, and we'll reference both of them, the obstacle which is going to be at the obstacle, and the score which is going to be at the score. And one, not 1 hour, still less, and everything else is connected perfectly fine. And let's go inside our main menu, save the current scene, and let's hit play. So play and the quit are working, and what we need to check. Okay, so it is working. Only the obstacles are spawning. I think let's go inside our game manager. Y 15, negative 10, and positive 10. And to check if it is working, we'll change both of the speeds to a little bit lower. Let's set it to 8. Rotate speed is going to be similar, but we don't have our functions attached. So let's go inside our end panel and let's attach our first function to restart, quit, and toggle the sound. So first one is going to be the reload game. The sound is going to be the toggle sound. Toggle sound, did we create it? It should be there. And finally, our go-to menu is going to have the go-to menu function. And I think that should only be needed for our game to work correctly. And our game manager also has everything perfectly set up. So let's go inside our main menu and let's set. So these are our obstacles. Everything is rotating fine, and our player is also changing color. So we'll also need to fix that. And that's our previous project with some of the sprites from the current project. And we created everything from scratch. And if you do not want to do that, you can, I mean, if you have created the previous project from scratch, uh, you can directly copy the whole project and start editing there. And as we have not added much changes, what you can do to fix the tag is remove the tag and add the tag again. And first set our obstacle and our score to untagged. And after both of them are set to untagged, remove the tags from the tags folder and add the tags again, and maybe restart the whole scene so the tags are added. The final condition is if you go inside the project settings and inside the tag manager file, if you open it as a text file, both of the tags should be attached and it won't have much errors. So that's the only error. We are not having any more errors. So that's how we build the whole game from scratch. And we can already reuse scripts, so there is not any much conditions for that. So let's see what we are going to change first. As everything is attached correctly, the only thing we will need to change is both of them are set to trigger and both of them have the scripts attached. No changes here. Explosion, we'll need to add the particle system, but I think we'll for now let's have it this particle system will attach later. And let's start editing our scene. So the first thing we are going to do is change our main menu. I mean the main game manager scene script. There are not many changes, but we'll check everything one by one. So scripts, the audio manager, fine. Constants, perfectly fine. Main menu manager, perfectly fine. We already changed some things inside the score, but we are going to set its transform position here. For that, for the instantiation, we will need to change it inside our obstacle spawning logic. And spawn prefab, and what we're going to do is we are just going to instantiate it, and automatically whatever settings we have inside our score or our obstacle, it will set it up. And when the game ends, the end panel's color will need to end panel dot get component image dot color we'll need to set it to the current color. And that's going to be inside our mono behavior methods. We are going to have on enable and on disable, on enable and on disable, and color changed plus is equals to on color changed, and color changed minus is equals to on color change. So we'll need to create this method. So when the color changes, we are going to change the background color. And for the background color, we'll need to get a reference for the camera. And here we are going to have on color change color, and we'll call it call, and main dot the background color is going to be color. So on color changed D, so that should fix up our color changing logic. Everything was working fine, and that was for our game manager. Obstacle spawning, will need to change our obstacle prefab and our score prefab. So let's see what we need to change inside our score. So we are going to have a serialized field for a private list of vector3, and we'll call it spawn pose, and we are just going to directly set up our spawn position here. So transform dot position, it is going to be from spawn pose, and it is going to be from unity engine dot random dot range from 0 till spawn pose dot count, and it will give us a random spawn position, and that should set up our spawn position for the score. And I think our game manager is also correctly set up. It doesn't need any more logic. Main menu manager is also set up, and our score is also set up. Now let's go inside our player, and what our player handles is the movement script. So first what we are going to do is delete all of the parameters, which is the move time, rotate radius, center, current, and it should give us a couple of errors which will directly delete it, and can move this also. And on game ended and end game, we also don't need our color change here, so we can also remove it. So this will clean up our project a little bit. We only have two booleans and a couple of audio clips at the start. And there's this explosion prefab which we have created as an empty, it's just an empty object. So what is going to happen? So when we hit move, it is going to slow or fast our player, depending on switch from slow to fast. And inside the fixed update, our player is going to rotate and translate. And when it reaches one of the ends, it will switch whatever it wants to do. So let's see what variables we are going to need. So let's create a serialized field, private float, and we'll call it start speed. And after that, serialized field, private float, and this one we are going to call bounds x. And after, we are going to have serialized field, private float for the fast move speed multiplier. So, and slow move speed multiplier. And after that, we are going to have a private float for the speed magnitude. So if we go inside the opposite speed, we'll just multiply the speed magnitude by -1. I mean, uh, when it reaches the bounds, we'll change the sign of the speed magnitude by multiplying it to -1. And after we'll have private float of speed multiplier, which is again going to depend on private bool is slow. So if it is slow, we'll set the speed multiplier to slow speed multiplier, slow move speed multiplier, and if it's fast, we'll set it to fast move speed multiplier. And that was just for the moment. Similarly, we are going to have a serialized feed for the private float rotate speed and serialized field private float for the fast rotate speed multiplier and low rotate speed multiplier. And private float current rotate value and private float rotate magnitude. So if you want to move in the opposite direction, we'll just multiply the rotate magnitude by -1 and rotate speed multiplier. So these are our parameters, and inside our update, what we are going to do is change our is slow to negative is slow, and we'll change our speed multiplier. If it's slow, then we'll set it to slow move speed multiplier as fast move speed multiplier. And similarly, our rotate speed multiplier is going to be slow and slow rotate speed multiplier as the fast rotate speed multiplier. And we'll need to set this up when our game starts. So let's go inside our start, and the game is always going to start from slow. Then speed magnitude is going to be 1, so it will move towards the right. And our speed multiplier is going to be slow move speed multiplier, and current rotate value is going to start from 0. Rotate magnitude is going to start from 1, so it will rotate anti-clockwise. And our rotate speed multiplier is going to be our slow rotate speed multiplier. So these are the starting parameters, and when we click, it is going to change. And what is going to go inside our update, it will set the transform dot position plus is equals to. So what is going to be equal to? The first will multiply it by the speed magnitude, then will multiply it by the speed multiplier, and finally we'll multiply it by the start speed, and finally with the time dot fixed delta time, and finally we'll multiply it by the v3 dot right. So that should be it. Yeah. So it will change our position. Similarly, our current rotate value, it is going to be equal to rotate magnitude multiplied by the rotate speed multiplier multiplied by the rotate speed multiplied by the time dot fixed delta time. And after that, we also need to set the transform dot rotation to be quaternion dot Euler. And here we'll pass our 0 0 and our current rotate value. And if our transform dot position dot x is less than negative bounds x, or transform dot position dot x is greater than bounds x. What we'll do is multiply the speed magnitude by negative 1f, and we'll play what we are going to play is our point clip. And finally, if our current rotate value is greater than 360f, or our current rotate value is less than 0f, yeah, then we are going to switch the rotation, which is going to be a rotate magnitude. Multiply is equals to negative 1f. And that should be it. And we are also going to need to rescale when the game ends. So we will create a serialized field, private float destroy time, and we'll directly copy it from our score. So on game ended, let's copy both of them and put it inside our player. We don't need this both, and that should be it, but we'll need to subscribe to those methods. So game manager dot instance dot game ended, this is equals to on game ended, yeah, and game manager dot instance dot will also need to unsubscribe it, or it will create issues if our object is a singleton and there's still a reference, but our current script will be destroyed when the game restarts. And I think that should be it for our player. Yeah. And finally, we'll have the scripts for our obstacle. It's going to a little bit trickier, but let's see what we can do. So our obstacle is setting everything on its own. So we have move speed, max offset, destroy time. We will need the rotate speed. And after that, we only need a private boolean of as game finished. And update, we are only going to change its position, but here instead of left, it's going to go up. Similarly, inside our score, instead of left, it's going to go up. 1 hour and 8 minutes, should be finished by 1.5 hours. So our score is also set up, our player is also set up, and inside our obstacle. So has game finished? And similarly, we are going to need a serialized field, private list of vector3, and we'll call it functions. We can directly call it spawn. Private vector3 current spawn pose, private int spawn index, and after that we are going to have two more booleans. private bool is left and private bool can move. So can, instead of can move, we'll call it can switch. So what is going to happen inside the start? We first need to get our spawn index, and it is going to be random dot range from 0 till spawn pose dot count. And after we get our spawn index, we'll get our current spawn position, and it's going to be spawn pose for our spawn index, and is left is going to be random dot range from 0 till 2 is equals to 0, and if our spawn current spawn pose dot x multiply is equals to, if it is left, then we'll multiply it by negative 1f, else we'll multiply it by 1f. And after that, our transform dot position is going to be our current spawn position, and if uh, can move, can switch, and we'll start the coroutine and we'll call it move to opposite direction. And our can switch is going to be random dot range from 0 till 4 is equals to 0, and our spawn index is not equal to So if transform dot position dot y is greater than max offset, then we are going to name object. Similarly, inside the score, we'll need to change it. And finally, our obstacle. And here we are going to have a couple of serialized fields. So first is going to be private float and start, which pause y when it is going to start switching, and end switch pause y. So these are just two ends. So when we are going to switch, as our player is going to start spawning from the negative 25y position, and currently not the player, the obstacle, the player is at the 0th index, we may need to have it like switch from any of the values in the range from negative 4 to negative 8, and after that we'll create a private enumerator, move to opposite direction. So it won't show error. Float current switch pause y, it's going to be start switch pause y plus end switch pause y minus start switch pause y. And we can do a random dot range from 0 to 1, but what we are going to do is multiply it by 0.25, and after that we are going to do random dot range from 0 till 5. So it's going to have 5 positions, and the gap is going to be 1/4. Mm, maybe 1/3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it will divide it into 4 parts, and after that, current was y is going to be transform dot position dot y float offset y. It is going to be equal to current pose y minus current switch pose y. And we'll need to get the wait time, which is going to be offset y divided by move speed. So our speed is going to distance upon time, so our time is going to be distance divided by speed. And what we'll do is we'll wait for that amount of time. We'll return new, wait for seconds, and we'll wait for our wait time amount of seconds. So till that much time is passed, our object is moving at move speed, and it will reach travel offset y position. And if we add our offset y to our current switch pause y minus current pause y, will get our current switch pause y. So finally, the whole calculation is after that amount of time, we are going to reach a random distance between our start and the end we have passed here. And after that, what we are going to do is float current switch pause x is going to be transform dot position dot x, and float target switch pause x is going to be negative current switch pause x. And similarly, we'll calculate the offset x, which is going to be equal to target minus current. And after that, we'll need to calculate the time to switch, and it is going to be equal to offset x divided by our move speed. And we'll need to pass mathf.abs. So if our offset is negative, as our move speed is already positive, so if it changes from positive to negative, then it will have negative value, so we'll need to add absolute. And after that, we'll need to calculate the speed magnitude, which is going to be our offset x is greater than 0f, then we'll add 1. I mean, else it will be 1, uh, and it will be negative. And finally, we'll do time elapsed to 0f, while time elapsed is less than time to switch. We will increase our time elapsed by time dot fixed delta time, and we'll wait for fixed update. And what we'll do is transform dot position plus is equals to speed magnitude multiplied by move speed multiplied by time dot fixed delta time and multiplied by right, which is going to be equal to v3 dot right. And I'll need to drink some water. And finally, we'll need to set its exposition. Temp.x is going to be equal to target switch pos x, and transform.position is equal to temp. So our code is perfectly fine. If there are any errors, we'll fix it. Let's go inside Unity and we'll change the explosion later. So currently everything was working. Our game manager is also correctly set up. Doesn't need anything else, and we'll need to set up our player. It got a couple of more variables added. So it will need start speed, bounce x. So our start speed is going to be 8, our bounce x is going to be 8, our fast move speed multiplier is going to be 2.56, 0.64. Rotate speed is going to be 180 degrees in 1 seconds, and destroy time is going to be 0.32. So that was the setup for the player. Now let's set up our for the score, and for our score, our spawn position is going to be 0, negative 25, 0, 3, negative 25, 0, and 6, negative 25, 0. -3, negative 25, 0, and negative 6, negative 25, 0. And similarly for our obstacle, our start switch and end switch, -4 and -8, and our obstacle spawn pause is going to be 0, 25, 0, 3, 25, 0, and 6, 25, 0. And everything else is set up. Mm, so I think everything should work. And let's see, let's go inside our scenes and our main menu and let's hit play. So this is our main scene. So it is getting destroyed. So let's set up our parameters correctly. Everything was working fine, but uh, let's see what parameters are we missing. So let's first check the score. Let's first check our obstacle. The right renderer color is black, size 2.56, order in layer 4, circle collider 2D, which is the trigger. Obstacle 8 and -10. So here there was error. The move speed was 16 and 25, destroy time 0.32. The spawn position and everything else is working perfectly fine. 25 and 16. And finally, inside our gameplay, for our player, we have high, not, I mean, the speed is all right. And let's go inside our main menu and let's hit play and let's, yeah, let's see if any of our, so it is working fine, but we are not getting. Okay, so our main camera is not assigned and our obstacle spawn time. Yeah, the main issue is our main camera is not assigned. So let's see. Font time is correct. This, and let's attach our main camera. And let's hit play again. Sound and quit are working fine, so we'll test everything one by one. So there are no errors, but we are not spawning obstacles, which should be issue with our obstacle maybe. Or black, its order in layer is 4, its order in layer is also 4. So let's see what error do we have inside our game manager. I think I got it. We didn't set the transform dot position to yeah, we did set it. So what may be the issue? Let's first go inside our game manager and let's go inside our obstacle spawning script. While not has game finished, yield return for the time interval. And let's do new wait for seconds of obstacle spawn time. And let's remove the time here. And the point is, if you score, it is only spawning scores. Why is it not spawning an obstacle? Because we have set up the spawn prefab. Yeah, it is set up. So it should spawn more obstacles, but it is not. But it may be, but we are not able to see it, or it may be getting destroyed. So don't know where the issue is. It's good to start from scratch. And let's see what is happening. Gameplay. So we should have an obstacle and a score here. So let's attach the obstacle and let's also attach. And currently it is only spawning private bool unity engine dot random dot range from 0 till 3 is equals to 0. The seed is not changing, or the spawn prefab is not getting set up. Well, it was working fine last time. Now I don't think there may be issue with the code, so let's directly refer to what I have before. So we have the obstacle prefab and the score prefab, then we have the obstacles on time, and when it is called, we are going to new wait for seconds for our obstacle spawn time. And after we are instantiated, we'll set the score spawn prefab and we'll instantiate the spawn prefab again, but this is not working. So what we'll do is we'll debug log uh, uh, this score And let's see what the issue is, or maybe mm, game manager. So let's give it a very high value. So only obstacles will be spawned. So we are not able to check the conditions for the obstacles. Okay, so I think the obstacles are spawning, but they are getting destroyed. So there may be some issues with the script there. -4, -8, 036. The parameters here are correct, but we'll need to check our obstacle script again. Our score is working perfectly fine. And let's go inside Unity, and there is not going to be any change here, but inside our obstacle, random dot range and spawn index is not equal to 0. So if we can switch, hmm, hmm, hmm. So the issue is if our obstacle is getting destroyed, this is set up in the start. Transform dot position is equals to current spawn position. Left, and let's hit play. The game should end if it collides, but it is not colliding. Hmm, 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 hmm. So there's an issue with the game manager. Instantiate our spawn prefab, score prefab, and the obstacle prefab. And what was in our console log? Let's hit play again. So that value is perfectly fine. So why is it not doing? I got it. My bad. The spawn position was -25. Yeah, the spawn position was -25. If it is already set at +25, it will get destroyed when the game starts. No issues anywhere, just some parameters I forgot to change. And let's hit play. So we are getting our everything is almost looking good enough. We just need the frequency to be a little bit lower. Yeah, we just need our frequency to be a little bit lower. And all we need to do is just set it to not equal to 0. Yeah, we just set the value to be not equal to 0, and it will spawn our scores. And inside our obstacle we need to switch, so we'll turn it on, and every other parameter is correctly set up, and there should be no more issues. So let's hit play, and yeah, let's just hit play and let's see if it is working. Okay, so it is working. The rotation is also working. The movement is a little bit jittery cause our okay, so it is working. Sound is also working. Restart is also working. So let's do our next step, which is our explosion. It needs to be looking good. There is not going to be much changes inside our explosion. It's just going to simple one. So duration, it is going to be 3.2, and start lifetime, it's going to be random between two constants, which is going to be 0.8 and 1.6. Start speed, it is again going to be random from 8 16, and size, it is again going to be random between two constants from 0.1 and 0. Color is going to be white. Simulation space doesn't matter. Emission rate over time 0, but we are going to have a burst count from 10 to 20. And let's scale it up. And cycles is going to be 3 cycles. Interval, let's set it, instead of cone we are going to use a circle. Let's hit restart, so it will give us an explosion. Shape, limit, force, velocity, and there is no need for size or lifetime, but inside the renderer, the material will need to set the sprite's default material, and order in layer it will be higher than our player, but little bit lower than our canvas, which is at the 10. And finally our sprite, it is going to be our circle sprite, so instead of grid, select sprite and add our circle, and now our explosion will be set up. And this video took long because we did everything from scratch, but if we reused our previous assets, it would have been slower, but sometimes we may like need to create the whole project from scratch. An extra hour is not much, but if it reorganizes our project better without any bugs, it well, it is good. So let's remove our debug.log. Don't want our UI to be messy. So there is our color change, which is going to change our color, and everything is where it should be. So let's play again and then we'll review our code structure. So sound is working fine. Somehow it does that, but this one didn't. So we'll need to be the frequency or the obstacle will need to be little bit lower. Yeah, we'll need the frequency of the obstacles to be lower, and everything else is working fine. And let's review our code again. So if you want to recreate it again, we'll clone this whole project or copy it. Our audio manager inside awake just sets the default value and set if it is muted. And player setting, only we need to do is we need to set and get the sound muted. Yeah, but we'll just leave it as it is. Add button sounds to all the buttons which are also inactive. Then we have our constants, main menu manager, just a couple of functions to change our current active script sprite. And here sound is equals to not sound. We could have done it easier by setting this boolean to public, and as it modifies this sound value, we can directly set up instead of doing it in two steps. All we need to call is audio manager dot instance dot is sound muted is equals to not audio manager dot instance dot is sound muted. But we have done it so many times before, so it doesn't matter. And the score, it doesn't have much. The destroy script and the movement script, which it moves up, and the rotation. And everything else is similar. We need to disable its collider. The game manager, every uh, region is correctly like named. So color change, we have parameters for all of the color changes and all the functions. The mono behavior includes all of the start methods and the UI we used at the start. So there is not much there. And inside our UI, we are just adding the button functions and updating the text. And game start and end, it includes the two core routines, the enumerators, which we have created to move the camera to start and end the game. And there's the function to, yeah, where's the function? Yeah, the end game and the start game function. And I think we are calling the start game inside the awake method, so it doesn't matter. All the parameters are here only. So camera, both of them we are not going to need anywhere else. And this both are public events, so whenever needed, we'll get that event. Similarly, inside the obstacle spawning, it's just a similar spawning script. The time and whatever the list of obstacles you want to spawn. I mean, we just have to, you can use it as a list. And also the color change, the obstacle is similarly having the similar structure, the update, the game ended, which calls the coroutine. You can have a simple function using the library, which will just call transform.doScale to 0, and it will be just one line, but uh, we'll need to destroy the object at the end. So sometimes at onComplete, if we add the destroy game object script, it will, I don't know, it just shows errors sometimes. So we are just using a simple enumerator. There is not much easing here, but if you want to add easing, as our time elapsed value is set from 0 to 1, we can instead of time elapsed, we can use a function to calculate that value. And similarly, we created the move to opposite direction using a couple more floats. I mean, we can do it in one line, but to have it easier to understand, we renamed everything, and everything doesn't have much functions on each of the sides. And finally, our player. So our player is also correctly set up. All the variables needed to calculate in the update and the fixed update, we pushed it here. The starting just have two booleans, which controls when the script gets the input or uh, calculates the rest of the function. And the collisions and the starting and the ending functions. We can add the game started. Yeah, let's just have the start at the start and end at the end. So that was the script. That I mean, It grew pretty much large since we started the game, but we can already do it in around 1.5 hours modifying the script. I mean, if you want to create from scratch, you can create from scratch. It's not difficult. The main is our game manager, which is around 200 to 250 lines of code. And already the structure we have done it, but if we already done it before, why code it again? So that was it for this game. And let's go inside Unity and let's play the game again. And now we are going to use the simulator. Mm, Let's see how it looks. So it doesn't look bad, but our canvas scenes for our main menu. Match width and height. Is it matching height? Yeah. Why doesn't it match width? Well, doesn't matter. We okay. Canvas stitches matching the height. We need to match the width. Now it looks better. So let's go inside our main menu and let's hit play again. So the last thing we need to do is set our spawning logic to include more obstacles and less. So 0 to 4 is fine, 0 to 3 will just have it spawned at 1/3 chance. So let's play again. I mean, you can expose it as a parameter and change the value how you like. I think we did something wrong again. Okay, so that's the game, and it was a simple hyper casual game. This one took longer, but sometimes practice is good, or else like uh, afterwards it may show some error when you code it again, and the debugging skills, they are also good. So it is good to practice. And if you guys watched till now, thank you guys for watching. And I've created a game for the mobile and published it on Play Store. So if you want to see how that game looks and how that game feels, so it's a simple puzzle game. The description is down in the link below. And if you want to see more of such tutorials, so this series was like a simple one. And after completing a few more games, I'll be creating, I don't know, maybe puzzle games or simple platformers. We'll do see how that happens. And if you are new to the channel, do subscribe to the channel and comment anything below if you like the video. It has like, I don't know, if you like and comment. It shows the video has good reviews, good community discussions. And thank you guys for watching and see you guys in the next video.